Hi, I am Debi Borger. I am located in Jupiter, Florida, and my story begins lying face down on a massage table, feeling as if I was falling out of a plane. Reaching for a parachute that I couldn't find, trying to find a cord that I couldn't pull. I felt like I was still falling and that no one was going to be there to help me. That is how my story begins. 12 hours before that, I was in a taxi on my way through the mountains of Costa Rica, on my way to the airport. I had just left a relationship, an engagement that I had been in for 3 years, and ended in a narcissistic discard. I thought that that fall out of that plane was going to kill me. And I had no idea what was going to happen next. So here I am in this taxi, and I'm in the winding roads of Costa Rica in the middle of the night, in the dark, on my way to a hotel room to catch a plane back to Fort Lauderdale the next morning. And I had no idea what was going to happen. I can't remember a time that I ever felt like that. I have chills just thinking about it right now. A discard that just abruptly ends when someone just decides that they no longer want to be in a relationship and the walls go up and everything falls apart around you and you can't make any sense of it all. My whole entire nervous system was flip-flopping in my stomach. My heart was racing. I was texting, I was calling, I was trying to figure out where I was going to go, what I was going to do. I've got music blaring in my ears. The taxi driver doesn't speak any English. And I got on that plane the next morning, and I just thought to myself while I was holding this rock in my hand that said strength on it, engraved. I don't even remember picking it up. I don't remember where I got it. And I just remember sitting on that plane thinking that someone had pushed me out. I ended up in my sister's spare bedroom 2 days before Christmas, 2 years ago. I had no car. I had no clients. I had no place to live. My life was in pieces, and the future that I thought I was building for myself with my partner was immediately just thrown away, and I needed to rebuild my entire life again. I was 3 months shy of my 10 years sobriety date, something that I had looked forward to for so long, and I was about to give it all away. I didn't know where I was going to work. I thought I'd go back to bartending. I needed to get clients. I needed to find a place to live, but I had no car, and I can't get a job if I don't have a car, and I can't get a car if I don't have a job. It was this endless loop in my head going round and round and round every day. At night, I would wake up in that spare bedroom in a panic attack with my fists clenched, curled up in a ball, my heart racing. And all I remember thinking to myself is, how did this happen and how did I get here? At 47 years old, well, 46, 45 at the time, now 47, how did I get here? I had a thriving business before I left to move to Costa Rica. I had a full book of clients, friends. What did I give up on myself to be led into such a situation? I remember just thinking to myself that I couldn't move forward. It gives me a feeling in my stomach right now as I even think about it. But one of the most unexpected things that I realized was that I had a support system that I called my circle of strength around me when I landed. And they were really the parachute that made sure I fell softly and landed on my feet. They were a circle of women, sisters, aunts, mothers, friends, who made sure that they reached out every day, that they helped me, that they moved me, that they unpacked me. My parachute was never inside of me. It was all around me the whole time, and I never realized it. During those nights that I spent in a ball in my sister's bedroom, not able to work out, not able to eat, in the worst health in my life, there was a spark inside me that had had enough and wanted to give back to all the other women that had given so much to me at this time. The women who came to me and said, years ago, this happened to me. I had been there before too. I know what you're going through. And so I decided that I wanted to be the person that I needed most in my darkest days for other women and teach them everything that worked for me along the way. And in those moments, the E3 method was born. And the E3 method stands for elevate your mind, elevate your body, and elevate your world. I had a lineage of women who were strong authors, writers, speakers, my grandmother. I had never tapped into that lineage before, that matriarchal side that was brewing inside of me, ready to come out. And so this was the perfect opportunity to rebuild, reinvent, and create this framework for others. For other women who are walking through the fire that I had, for other women who are trying to put their life back together after life's traumas and transitions, for all of the women that come out of these life quakes, these moments that just come out of nowhere and blow up your world, I wanted to help them. So I did not relapse. I made it to my 10-year, my 11-year, my 12-year. But I also realized that I did not do it alone. I had my circle of strength, and I invite women now into my circle of strength to be a part of their circle of strength. And the only advice that I can give you is that if you feel like you're falling, reach out. Your parachute may already be waiting around you. Thank you.
Debi, you've been through so much. My gosh, what a story. A lot of us have found ourselves at some points in our lives falling, like you said, without the parachute. And I know the feeling. I think I told you when we met the first time how I went through my traumatic divorce. So many women are finding themselves having to rebuild themselves much later in life. Now, you are approaching your 10 years of sobriety.
12, actually.
12, okay.
12, yes.
When everything fell apart, what made that moment so dangerous and so defining?
Yes, it was almost 10 years, you're correct, when this happened.
Yeah.
And what made it so defining was that I had actually been sober for 9 years and 9 months on my own. I had never entered the program of AA. I had never gotten help from anyone else, which is pretty unheard of, to remain sober for that long by yourself.
Yeah.
But this life quake was so detrimental to my nervous system that I would have given up in a heartbeat if it meant having some kind of financial safety, going back to work, some kind of calmness to calm everything in my body that didn't feel right. But I didn't do it. I walked into the rooms, or I got online and I started to participate in the AA program, and it saved my life.
Wow. Now, many women experience betrayal, but yours happened across borders and by text.
Yes.
How
Yes.
did that impact your sense of safety and identity?
So I was sitting in one of those AA meetings, and I had gotten a text from my ex fiance stating that he would no longer be continuing the relationship and that I would be able to come and get my belongings when he would let me know. And I was speechless for a relationship like that to end via text because I didn't answer the phone call because I was in an AA meeting at the time, to just have this disregard for the whole relationship through a text message was just so disappointing and heartbreaking. And unfortunately, it fell at a time when I had already had a breakup like that over the holidays. So this was another breakup that happened right before Christmas, which I believe was pretty triggering to me.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you say that resilience isn't willpower. What is it really?
Putting in the reps,
Mm,
doing it over and over and over again
yeah.
until it becomes second nature. Just getting back up every time and knowing that there is no other option. You can't give up. You can't quit. You just have to keep going one step at a time,
One
one day,
moment at a time.
1 second at a time sometimes. And that's okay.
So, what does a nervous system shutdown actually feel like? And why don't we talk about them enough?
So I had been in a state of fight or flight for so long that I didn't even realize it. I had been losing myself for months. I was not feeling safe in the relationship, emotionally, physically, and my body was responding to that, to the point where when I finally left the relationship, I was literally in flight.
Mm,
And when I landed, my nervous system just shut down to the point where I couldn't get up and walk out of the room. I couldn't walk the dog. I couldn't go anywhere. My heart rate was constantly high. I had to be put on propanol to bring my heart rate down during panic attacks. Your nervous system is just clenching and tight, protecting yourself, protecting your body because you don't know if you're under attack. And when you freeze, it just stops. And I remember someone telling me, I think actually it was something I watched with Brene Brown, and she said, overwhelm is when life is moving at a pace that the nervous system and psyche can't handle. And that's exactly how I felt. And everything just stopped. And all I could do to keep myself from getting into those head spins and panic attacks because of the overwhelm of the life that I needed to rebuild so suddenly without any warning was stop and repeat to myself, stay mentally where your feet are. Stay mentally where your feet are. Because that keeps you in the present moment. And I'm not worried about the past and I'm not stressing about the future. And that would calm my nervous system.
that's just amazing. And your mind was able to guide you to that point. So tell us about the massage table moment. Why was that a turning point in your story, do you think?
Because I remember laying there with my face down in this pillow, staring at this man's feet and thinking to myself, I know that my sister meant well by giving me her gift certificate 2 days before Christmas after everything that just happened to relax and try to feel better. But I'm laying there and I'm still in survival mode. And all I kept thinking was that I was just falling. I'm literally laying on this table, my face down, and I'm falling. And that's just how I felt. I felt like someone had pushed me out of the plane, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know where I was going to land. I had 10 days worth of clothing in my bag because I thought I was only going to be in the United States for 10 days.
Days.
And that didn't happen. So it was a very pivotal moment, just laying there thinking to myself, I'm supposed to be enjoying this and relaxing, and I'm scared as heck.
You just didn't know what your next move was going to be.
No.
Yeah, that would be traumatic for any woman, anyone really. It's almost like the rug was just pulled from under your feet.
Yes, that's a discard. They get triggered and walls go up, and they have no access to their feelings for you. And they've shut it off long before they ever let you know. And in my case, most of the time, after doing a lot of research and studying, you learn that they most likely have another source of energy waiting in the wings.
Okay.
And I found out a year later on my birthday that he was actually in a relationship with our maid and had moved our maid in shortly after I left.
God.
So the life quakes kept coming. They kept coming for 2 years after, or at least a year or two, after. But knowing that I had my circle of strength made it so much easier.
Yeah. You were lucky. You were very, very lucky in that sense.
Yes.
Now, you often speak about your circle of strength. How did community save your life?
The last thing I wanted to do when I got back to Florida was talk to anyone. For the first 3 months I was in my sister's spare bedroom, I wouldn't talk to anyone. My sister did most of the talking and conversating and communication to my parents, to my ex. I just couldn't speak. I was embarrassed. I felt ashamed. And the only way that I could rebuild my life was going to have to be by digging deep into all of the resources and people I knew and telling them all what happened so that they could help me. So when I finally was able to leave my sister's bedroom and come to a friend's house in Jupiter where I lived, I had to start reaching out. I had to get my ask on. I had to call people and ask them, do you know anyone who is looking for someone to do A, B, and C? Do you know anyone who may want personal training? Do you know anyone who may... Everybody was shocked. What are you doing back here?
Yeah.
Why are you even here? What do you mean? You're engaged to be married. We just saw you were on a beautiful vacation, romantic vacation after Thanksgiving in Puerto Rico. We were on a beautiful vacation in Puerto Rico, but he was checked out. So it was very hard to go back into the community and ask them for help when I didn't want anyone to know I was there.
But it's a good thing you had community to go back to, and you recognize that they would be there to support you. A lot of women then try and do it alone, and doing it alone really doesn't work when you're in a situation like that.
Right.
So I'm so glad you had the wisdom to reach out and ask and find the resources that were all around you already.
Yes.
And what an amazing sister you have.
Yes, and brother-in-law. The one thing most people don't realize is the culture shock that also was very overwhelming to my nervous system. I got thrown back into the United States 2 days before Christmas in South Florida. And if you know anything about South Florida, during Christmas, it's crazy busy. It's the height of season, or season has just begun. The kids are out of school. They're home all day. I had nothing to get up and do every day. There was no purpose. There was, no gym that I would go to because I couldn't even fathom lifting any weights or working out. And it was really, really shocking culturally to just traveled back and forth to the United States all the time. But
Right.
this time with my nervous system in the state that it was horrible.
I can't imagine what you went through. Now, your story is deeply connected to the women who came before you, your grandmother and your aunt. Why did
Yes.
this lineage call you to speak? How did they call you to speak?
They're part of my circle of strength when I came back. It's interesting. My aunt and my cousin had just moved back to South Florida right before I left to move to Costa Rica, and we had been estranged for a very long time. So I had just started to rebuild that relationship with them, and they were there for me when I came back. And as we started to talk, I realized that my aunt had been through something very similar,
Okay.
and it called out to me what my grandmother had written about, what my grandmother on that side had done. And I realized that standing up and telling my story was giving a voice to the other women in my family who had come before me, that their stories were silenced. My grandmother had written a book, and they told her that she could not publish it. They would not publish it unless she changed the names in the book because it was tied to some mafia connections. And she wouldn't change the names, and they didn't publish the book. And I said, this is my time to stand up and speak for every woman that came before me who was told they couldn't.
Wow. And I'm so glad you did, because now you're empowering so many
Thank you.
and having your head held high. This happens to anyone. So, why do you believe silence keeps women stuck in the cycles of trauma?
I think because there's the stigma and the shame. I had been in so many traumatic relationships and suffered so many traumas over the last 3 decades that I didn't realize what was even going on or what was considered to be traumatic. You know, you have a relationship in college, another relationship here or there, and they all have the same patterns. And I think that we get embarrassed because we think that there's something wrong with us. Well, maybe I just picked the wrong men, or maybe, there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm not a good lover. Maybe I'm not a good partner. Maybe I am too controlling, or maybe I am too healthy. But it's not that. And we don't want to come out and talk about it. And it's important. There's also that misogyny and that bro code, and it's a lot of things that are so engraved in our culture that to stand up and talk about it, against it, to talk, it's, you feel like you're fighting an uphill battle. But now women empowerment has become the norm. Standing up for ourselves, being okay, being single, having a very full, loving life with partners and friends and family, and living it on my terms. And that's okay, but it takes a lot to get there.
Yeah, it does. It takes a lot of psychological strength. Now, you have transmuted this whole experience into something magical. You created the E3 method from lived experience. Can you walk us through it and tell us how it was born?
Yes. It started with the days that I would walk to the gym but couldn't pick up a weight. I just didn't have the strength, but I knew that I needed to get back into that routine. I'd been a personal trainer for 15 years before I left, and I was a teacher, and I knew that the only person that was going to be able to get me out of this was myself. And so one small step of walking to the gym and back, one small step of walking the dog, one small step of making sure I at least got one meal in a day, and one small step of something motivational. I listened to a lot of Brene Brown, and I listened to a motivating podcast every day, first thing in the morning. And as I started to take those 3 steps with my mind, my body, and my world, that's when the E3 method was really born. And again, it stands for elevate your mind, elevate your body, and elevate your world. And I began to see that I had created these steps. The first step is vision. I had to decide what I wanted to do with my life now that I was starting over again. And then I needed to assess. Number 2 is assessment, where I was and what I would need to do in order to reach that goal.
Right.
Number 3 was action. So I had to create an action plan and the steps that it would take to get there. And then I had 4, reassessment, because things don't always work out the way that you want them to. And sometimes you have to go back and look to see what's working and what isn't.
Yeah.
And they had a lot of things that I started that I realized were not for me and went in a different direction. And then the last is IGPS, which I call your inner guidance system. And that is the part that keeps you back on track when these life quakes come and gets you back in alignment with your North Star or your goal that you set in the first step, which was vision.
Wow. Very, very profound. I love it.
Thank you.
So what does it mean to choose yourself before you lose yourself?
Women spend so much time worrying about everybody else and everything else except for ourselves. And it all starts here. Women are the receivers. We are the light. And, you know, we tell mothers all the time, if you're not happy, no one else is happy. Well, the same goes for you personally, women. If we're not happy on the inside and we're not connected to who we truly are on the inside, and we're pretending to be someone else and we're changing to make someone else happy and we're trying to fit into someone else's social circle, or just constantly giving in and dropping our boundaries for someone else to make them happy, we are so off center and out of alignment that we could never be happy. And in turn, no one else around us is going to be happy. And I know we hear it all the time, but it's so true. And until you're actually in alignment with what was meant for you, you really won't understand. Because then you'll look back and say, wow, I was so out of alignment.
But you can only see it in retrospect, unfortunately. When you're going in, you can't quite see it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw it though, but I just decided to ignore the red flags. And that's another thing. You're not doing any good ignoring the red flags. And we have to be honest with ourselves, and we have to be strong, and we have to say, these are my non-negotiables. Respect my time, match my effort. Like, you have to have your non-negotiables, and you can't back down.
Now, why did sharing your story publicly change the way that you see yourself?
Healing in public is hard. It's hard, but it makes you stronger. There's so much of my story that hasn't been told yet, and it will in the book, but I don't hide and I don't shy away and pretend that someone did the right thing or someone did what happened, and it shapes who I am and who I'm going to be. But by publicly healing, it showed other women that it's possible. And it helped other women to come out to me and voice and get off their chest and out of their heart the heaviness that they had been carrying for so long. I had so many women who came to me and pulled me aside or called me and said, you know, years and years ago, this had happened to me, or years ago, that had happened to me. And it truly blew my mind just how many women that I encountered that had been through something like it and never talked about it. You know, and
that's the oppression of the stories, and not talking about it is where the shame lies. You feel guilty, you blame yourself, yet these are things that are happening to more women than you realize.
Yes. And that's why I thought, I'm not going to be like my grandmother who was silenced, or other members that don't of my family who don't talk about it because it's healing. Get it out. I don't want to carry it around for the rest of my life. And by healing publicly, sharing it, showing other women, there are women who have gone through much worse than me. The women don't even know the full extent of what I went through and the burden that I carry. But that's okay, because I think when we get around those women, we don't even have to say anything. You just know. Women have been divorced, women have had cancer, women have done other things, and you just know that there is a bond because you've rebuilt yourself and you've grown stronger through it all. And sometimes you don't even have to talk. You can just sit with that person and understand.
Yes. The other thing that I love about being public is in Africa, we believe that the minute you tell your story or your problem to another human being, the problem is halved. It's no longer yours to carry alone.
I love that.
We believe that the healing actually starts with you telling the story because you're getting it out of your system. Yet a lot of times we internalize these stories, these emotions. They become a big part of who we are, and it can take you down. Now, I want to end our podcast with 2 questions, which are a bit of a thought experiment. In the first question, I'm going to teleport you back to the younger you, the young woman who was in the middle of a storm. And I want you to imagine that your story is actually somebody's survival guide right now. If you could go back and give yourself 3 nuggets of wisdom, could just even be the first step you want her to take today. If you could give her 3 nuggets of wisdom based on what life has taught you up until this point, what would those 3 nuggets of wisdom be?
The first one would be to listen to the signs that your body is telling you when something is wrong. When you get the butterflies in your stomach, the chills in your arms, that is your nervous system and your body telling you that something, some situation, some part of whatever it is where you are is not safe. And don't try to rationalize it. The second part kind of follows up on that too, is don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Don't dim your light so someone else can shine brighter. Stand up for yourself, own your power, own who you are, claim and live fully in your personality, and don't let anyone else try to make you feel bad about that. You're not too independent. You're not too strong. You're not too alpha. And the third is, again, when all else fails, stay mentally where your feet are. Just keep staying mentally where your feet are. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Just stay right where you are.
I love that third piece of advice because they say that depression comes when we focus on things in the past that we can't go back and change. Anxiety comes when we focus on things in the future that may or may not happen. So what you're teaching us here is just to be very present.
Yes.
You can only live in this moment. I love that. Now, last question. I'm going to teleport you into the future this time. And we are going to go and meet the 90-year-old you. And she's sitting in her rocking chair, surrounded by her family, her fur babies, her dogs, her cats, whoever's with you at the end. Or maybe you're on a dance floor somewhere enjoying life. If we could teleport and go and meet this wise woman who has led you up until this point, Debi, what would you say to her when you finally meet her?
Thank you. Thank you for keeping me strong and showing me the way and setting me straight back on my path of true alignment and my calling and what I was put on this earth to do. And I'll go even further with you on that. What would she say to me? I hope that she would say, thank you. Thank you for staying strong. Thank you for fighting for the little girl who had the dreams. Thank you for protecting her. Thank you for healing her. And thank you for building the life that would bring the 2 or 3 of us together in that 90-year-old.
That is so beautiful. I absolutely love it. Debi, thank you so much. And thank you for your work. I know now you'll have a focus on empowering other women who are navigating these choppy waters. I have your website at the bottom of the screen. How else can people find you?
They can find me on my Instagram, which is actually, my company is DB Wellbeing, but on Instagram, I am Deb Wellbeing, all one word. I'm on LinkedIn, my website, I'm on Facebook, my email, all of it in the information, but Instagram is probably the easiest, or Facebook, DB Wellbeing on Facebook, LLC. And yeah, I love to hear from other women who have gone through something similar. And I'm always there for anybody who needs support or coaching through any of these life quakes, because again, it's the circle of strength and the support from people who understand and have been there and came out the other side to show you that you will heal. You
That's
will.
beautiful. Thank you, Deb. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. The Her Story Circle is not just a podcast. We're a social impact movement that brings you the stories and voices of women from all over the world. We share these stories to uplift you, to inspire you, to energize you, but most importantly, to help take you from where you are now to where you're trying to go. So if you are a woman who is in the middle of a storm right now, is needing help, is needing support, here is an expert who can help you. Or if you know someone who is going through something similar, please share this podcast, tag your friends, your family, share the podcast through social media so we can reach more women who need the help and inspiration. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Debi, thank you again for this interview.
Thank you.
Bye for now, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.